Hey, thanks for listening to my podcast. To best enjoy this series, you should start from episode 1 and go on over to brandonheld.com and check out everything my site has to offer. I have the podcast, I have the blog, I offer life coaching, and I even have a little life coaching course if you don't want to talk to me one-on-one, just to help yourself get started. So start with episode 1, go to brandonheld.com. Thanks for listening. Imagine this. You're 2 years old. You're sitting in the living room of your trailer, and your dad walks into your house. And what you see your dad do is go into the bathroom, pull your mother out of the shower, and then bring her out of the room and throw her over the couch and start beating her and hitting on her right in front of you, this 2-year-old little kid. That's my first memory in life. For the longest time, I thought that was a dream or something I made up. And one day I told my mom when I was much older that I had this memory. And when I explained that to her, and I told her it was a wall paneling of wood, the door was brown, the couch was green. She said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you remember that. You were 2 years old." So this is my first memory in life. Why is this a big deal? Well, for a couple reasons. Number one, a lot of people believe kids don't remember anything when they're that small. Even you maybe believe you don't remember anything when you were that young. But obviously it happens, and they do, because I did. And it was traumatic enough and significant enough that I did remember that. And the other reason is that this memory, this thing that is deep inside my brain for 50 years of my life now, has shaped who I am as a man, and has not stopped, has never gone away. I am a protector, and I want to help people that are suffering and can't defend themselves. So this is a little bit about me. I'm going to start with that opening line, and then I'm going to let you know all the details of my life for 51 and a half years of my life that I remember, that I can tell, the good times and the bad, just so you can get an idea of my life and what I've gone through. And, see if you can relate to that. See if you can draw in from that one way or another, good, bad, or indifferent. My name is Brandon Held, and like I said, I'm over 51 and a half at this point. I am married, and I have 3 sons. I have an undergraduate degree in mass communications and a master's degree in MBA, master's in business administration. I also served 8 years total of military service, 4 years in the Air Force, and 4 years in the Army. And I will get into the details of all that stuff much later on. The idea behind this whole podcast is multiple. One, I want to leave a legacy behind for my sons, and maybe future children. That's right, future children, if life should go that way. And just, let them know this is what their dad or grandfather went through, and they can hear it firsthand, first account. in my own voice. And then maybe someone can learn from these circumstances, or maybe someone is going through the circumstances that I have already gone through. And this can help give them motivation and understanding that you can come out the other side. And, potentially maybe later on down the roads, people will be able to ask me questions and I can answer those questions, and I can give my thoughts and opinions on, anything that anyone has to ask me. I'm not shy. I'm in no way professional at recording or doing anything in media, even though my undergrad degree was in mass communications. That was 25 years ago at this point, and I never did anything in that realm of life. So if this sounds amateur and this doesn't sound well rehearsed or well prepared, it's because really it's not supposed to be. Yeah, I have bullet points and notes and things that I want to say, but they're just literally, this is the idea, talk about this. And the whole point is to keep it real, to keep it raw, and just be honest, right? Just say what happened as it happened in my own words, my own point of view. And, that's how we all see life, in our own words, at our own point of view. Maybe someone who went through the same thing with me, and, I give my point of view from what I saw and what I felt during that incident. It's exactly that. It's my point of view. They would have their own point of view. And I don't disregard someone's honest, authentic, and real point of view. If you're doing that, I have no problem with it. It's when people embellish or rewrite history because it doesn't fit the narrative of what they want to get across. And believe me, that does happen. That has happened in my life, with some significant people in my life. And they really do rewrite history to make themselves, more of a, I don't know, some to be felt sorry for, more of a martyr, I guess, if you will. And, I have definitely learned in life, there are people that enjoy the attention they get from people feeling sorry for them. So, that can only happen if life's not as bad as it really is for you, but you can certainly change the narrative to make sure that the story you're telling, people should feel sorry for you. So again, my intention is not to have anyone feel sorry for me. And hopefully by the time you've listened to and heard all of this, you will, think, hey, this guy went through some stuff and he's doing all right. Because that's how I feel. I feel I've gone through some stuff. I also feel like in some regards, I've had a pretty good life, not rich by any stretch of the imagination. So, don't get to live today's social media life where I'm yachting and private jetting and living in mansions and all that. But, honestly, was never really a goal of mine, even as a young child. My goals have evolved over time as I've learned more and more what's possible and what I am capable of. But again, those are things I'll delve into. And so the idea is that over multiple episodes. I will get through the story of my life, and the idea is to release 1 or 2 episodes a week. Really 2 episodes a week is the idea. And if somehow, some way, this reaches some kind of platform where people listen and they enjoy what I have to say, and they feel like they want to hear more, or they want me to help them in some way, then I would love to continue. And I would love to do more. I have ideas for interviewing some significant people in my life and bringing them on the podcast and seeing if, you can get a better feel and idea of some of these people I will talk about that have been significant figures in my life one way or another. And then I also just want to keep each episode 20 to 30 minutes long. I know people, myself included, have a short attention span. Sometimes my wife will send me a episode of some kind of show and she'll be like, "Oh, you really need to listen to this. It looks so good." And it'll be like 90 minutes or 105 minutes. And I'll be like, whoa, I don't really want to listen to all that. So I ask her for a synopsis, and, then I decide if I want to put the time and energy into something that long, just based off of the information she has provided. But I don't want to make you have to make that decision. 20 or 30 minutes, not too bad. I think we can spare that if we enjoy a podcast, and twice a week. So that's what I'm going for here. And so, yeah, that's the intro. Again, my name is Brandon Held, and I hope you enjoy this story of my life. And I hope you can learn from it, because that is one thing I have tried to do in life, is learn from not only my mistakes, but other people's mistakes. One of the biggest points of emphasis that I've had in life to try to be who I am is to learn from other people's mistakes. And I think you'll understand why. So I'm going to start with my childhood. Obviously, you heard my opening introduction to my first memory in life. By the way, shortly thereafter, my mother, who was 18 years old with now a 2-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter, my sister, who is obviously 1 year younger than me, divorced my biological father because he was abusive to her. She was 18. He was, I believe, around 5 years older than her. So at that point, 23. But when, they started together, she was 16. He was 21. I don't know how they got away with that, but they did. And maybe earlier or younger, because my mother gave birth to me when she was 16. So, who knows if that happened quickly or if they were together when she was 15 and he was 20, who knows? I don't know. But, so my mother divorced him at that time. And now here she was, an uneducated 18-year-old woman in a small town, and now she has 2 children and no husband. And, in this early 70s, mid 70s, that's tough. It's a tough way to live life. Women are already currently underpaid and aren't equal to men. So imagine what it was like back then when you're uneducated, you have 2 children, and you have no experience for work and life. And so, I really don't know how my mom survived, other than the fact that till I have my first real memories when I get up there around 8, 9 years old. I don't know how she made it from the time I was 2 until then. I don't know who supported her or who helped her get food on the table, put a roof over our head. I really don't remember that part of my life that well. But I do remember around 8 years old when I was living in a trailer across the street from my grandmother and my great-grandmother, who both happen to live side by side in their trailers on a shared property. And, we enjoyed living close to our grandmother because I love my grandmother very much. And I remember riding bikes out in the front, in the street and playing outside. Those are really kind of the only things I remember. And then my mom was married to this guy named Mark at this point, and my mother's name is Eva. By the way, I have not said her name yet, but it's Eva. And, they had a new baby, and her name was Brooke. And something happened. I don't really know the details of the story, but something happened where Brooke fell on the couch, and my mother and my stepdad got into a huge, explosive argument. And I really don't know the details of that. But all I know is, one day when I was in, I believe, the 4th grade, which would put me at, kindergarten, I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 years old, my mother tells me and my sister to go over to my grandma's house, who I call Mama, and I will refer from this point forward as Mama. She told me to go over to my Mama's house and that she would see us later. And I don't remember the details. I don't know if she gave us a note. I genuinely don't know what happened. But when she did that, that was the last time I saw my mother for over a year. So what she had done was she sent myself and my sister over to my Mama's house. And then she had given my little sister to her father. And then my mom left. She left. She moved to Oklahoma. Didn't tell anybody. Didn't give anybody heads up. Just did what was best for her. And, and that'll be a theme that will take me many years to catch on to, is my mother doing what's best for her. And so my sister and I were living with my grandmother and, my mama, who I loved very much, but I also loved my mom. I was a 9-year-old little boy. She was the world to me. She was all I knew. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a father figure. I had a younger sister, and we got along okay. But I missed my mother. And so we were living with my mama, and, my mom would call on occasion, and it would be painful. I would always want to know, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? I would, cry and miss her. I saw a side of my loving, caring mama that I had never seen before. In her defense, it wasn't her job to raise us, but she did for the year that she had us. She didn't give us away. She didn't throw us on anyone else. She took care of us, and it wasn't easy for her. It was a stressful time. And I saw that at times when she would get mad and upset. She wasn't my mama that was kind and sweet and loving. She got upset because my sister and I were, I'm sure a pain in the ass at times. And so I did get to witness that. And it was a tough time. So here I was in elementary school, barely surviving in school, which will be a theme throughout my childhood, is, stressed out, worried, missing my mommy, and, going to school under these conditions. And I just didn't care. I didn't care about school. I cared about my friends and like hanging out with them and getting along with everybody and playing on the playground. After school, I wanted to ride bikes or play, whatever, but I did not care about school. And, so eventually after a year, my mom comes home, she returns home, and now she's married again to this new guy named Ricky. So, my mom leaves, she's married to a guy named Mark. She returns and she's married to a guy named Ricky. And, so I was just happy my mom was home. Ricky came with her and that was part of the package. But I didn't really care at that time. I was just happy she was home. So she comes home, she gets my sister and I, we move into this tiny little 2-bedroom apartment on Mechanic Street. I'll never forget it. And it was a shitty place. It was crappy, for real. It just wasn't nice. We had blankets hanging up to divide rooms. We didn't have doors. I remember it being really cold in the winter, pretty warm in the summer. And we're kind of new there. And one night I'm laying in bed sleeping, 10-year-old little boy at this point. And the next thing I know, my mom comes running into the room, crying, screaming. She literally picks me up and puts me in front of her and uses me as a shield because Ricky has been beating her. He's been hitting her and beating the shit out of her. And imagine this 10-year-old boy being brought out of his sleep to see that his mom is crying and she's been beaten on and this raged maniac is chasing her, coming after her. And then she uses me as a shield, which is just, as an adult, unbelievable to me. Luckily for me, he didn't keep attacking. He didn't try to go through me. That ended that argument. But this was the introduction of my mom getting beat in front of me again when I already had that trauma inside of me that I previously told you about with my own biological father. And by the way, biological father out of my life, I skipped over that part a little bit, but when my mother got divorced from my biological father, he ran and he said, "You'll never see me again." And I didn't. I never met him my entire life. My sister did at some point, but we can talk about that later. So no biological father in my life. My mother returns. My stepdad is what I now learn is an alcoholic who rages when he's been drinking and becomes abusive. And, when you're 10 years old and you're going through this, you're in shock, because you love your mother. I loved my mother, loved her. She was amazing at making me feel like she loved me and also feeling sorry for her. She told me every sob story she had to tell about her abuse as a child, about what she's gone through as an adult, about how hard it is for her to raise us as a single mom. I mean, she really drove home how I should feel sorry for her. And, she's really my first introduction to the kind of person that loves the attention from the sympathy that she gets from other people. You know, she loves that. And I was the one that really received that the most as a child, but didn't know that's what was happening. I didn't know that's what I was getting. I just knew I loved my mother. And, you know, she had a rough life and I felt sorry for her. And now I'm defenseless and I can't help her as a 10-year-old little boy while this grown man beats the crap out of her. And all I can do is sit by and watch. You know, and this is just the first time I saw it happen. You know, I would see this happen for the next 6-7 years of my life, maybe less, but, you know, somewhere around there, I would see that happen a lot. And I was scared. I was afraid. Even as a teenage boy, I was afraid of my stepfather, Ricky, because he had a reputation for being a badass. He had a reputation for, in a bar fight, taking on 3 people and beating the shit out of 3 people in a bar fight. And who was I, this teenage scrawny kid? What was I going to do? You know? So I went the only way I could go, and that was try to convince my mom. You know, she didn't have to put up with this. I remember it, my sister and I both. Mom, you don't have to put up with this. Just leave this guy. Leave this guy. And it fell on deaf ears. So anyway, about a year or less upon my mom's return, my little brother RJ was born. He was born. Obviously Ricky was a father. So now I had this little brother about 10 years younger than I am. And, you know, he was everything to me at that point. You know, this little baby boy, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. He wasn't like just having a brother. It was almost like having a brother / son. And, it changed me forever. You know, the turmoil that were my mother and his father, made me feel very protective of him, you know, and a sense of responsibility of making sure that he was okay and he was good. And, you know, this is where I really started to grow up a little bit in life and learn responsibility, was when my brother was born. And that's where I'm going to stop for this episode, because we're getting close to 30 minutes. And like I said, the idea is to keep these 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm going to end this episode right here. And so the next episode we'll pick up with, you know, after my brother RJ was born, and we'll take it from there. So I appreciate you listening. I hope you're intrigued to learn more. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to my podcast. If you like this podcast, please listen to the rest of them and let me know. Go to my website, brandonheld.com. Check out my blog. Leave notes on my blog. Give me episode ideas, things you'd like to hear, or just tell me, you know, you didn't like it and why. Tell me what you think could be better. I'm open to hearing all of it. So just go to brandonheld.com.